Ambassador Tae-min walked slowly through the long hallway that led to the main meeting room on Nexus Station. His black shoes made soft sounds on the metal floor. The walls around him were covered with symbols from many different alien races. Each symbol told a story of power and control that stretched across the galaxy. He stopped at a large window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, his home world. Somewhere out there were millions of humans who trusted him to make the right choice today. The weight of that trust sat heavy on his shoulders. Kiwoo appeared beside him. The military advisor was a tall man with sharp eyes that missed nothing. He wore his uniform perfectly, but Tae-min could see the tension in his friend's face. You ready for this?" Kiwoo asked in a quiet voice. Tae-min nodded. "As ready as anyone can be for what might be our last chance at peace." They entered the meeting room together. The space was huge, with a round table in the center. 7 alien beings sat around the table, each one representing a different species that controlled parts of the galaxy. The air felt cold and unfriendly. Veltar spoke first. He was the leader of the hegemony, a group of worlds that believed they were better than everyone else. His skin was blue and covered in scales. When he smiled, it showed too many sharp teeth. "Humans," Veltar said, making the word sound like something dirty. "We are glad you came. We have been waiting to discuss your future in our galaxy." Tae-min sat down across from him. "We came here to talk about peace, to find a way for all of us to live together without fighting." Zephyr laughed. She was from the Trade Consortium, a group that cared only about making money. Her 4 arms moved as she spoke, and her voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "Peace? You call it peace when you take over planets that do not belong to you? You call it peace when you build cities and factories wherever you want?" "We built those cities on empty worlds," Kiwoo said. "We harmed no one." "Empty?" Veltar's voice rose. "Those worlds belong to us. All worlds in this galaxy belong to the Council. You humans are like children who take toys without asking." Tae-min felt his anger rise, but he kept his voice calm. "We followed all the rules. We asked permission before we settled on any world. We waited for your answers. When you said yes, we built our homes there." Another alien spoke up. This one looked like a giant insect with too many eyes. "You should have asked us before you left your home world. You should have asked us before you learned to travel between stars." The other aliens around the table made sounds of agreement. Tae-min realized that no matter what he said, they had already made their decision. This meeting was not about finding peace. It was about making humans accept defeat. Zephyr placed a large document on the table. "These are our terms. You will accept them, or there will be war." Tae-min picked up the document and read it. With each line, his heart sank lower. The aliens wanted humans to give up 70% of their colonies. They wanted humans to pay huge amounts of money as punishment for illegal expansion. They wanted human ships to carry alien watchers who would report everything back to the Council. "These terms are not fair," Tae-min said. "You are asking us to give up our freedom." "Freedom?" Veltar laughed. "You think you deserve freedom? You have. Been in space for less than 200 years. We have been here for thousands. You are babies trying to tell adults what to do." Kiwoo leaned forward. "We may be new to space travel, but we are not babies. We have proven ourselves many times." "Yes," said another alien, this one covered in fur and speaking in a high voice. "You have proven that you are dangerous. You breed too fast. You build too much. You ask too many questions. Questions like why some species live in slavery while others live like kings," Tae-min asked. The room went quiet. That was a dangerous question, and everyone knew it. The Council's power came from keeping some species down while lifting others up. They decided who got to be free and who had to serve. Veltar's eyes grew bright with anger. "You see? This is exactly what we mean. You think you can come here and change everything. You think you can make the galaxy better. But you do not understand how things work." "We understand more than you think," Kiwoo said quietly. Zephyr slammed one of her hands on the table. "Enough! You will sign these papers or we will make you sign them. Your choice is simple. Accept our terms or watch your colonies burn." Tae-min looked at the document again. He thought about all the humans living on distant worlds. He thought about children playing in parks his people had built. He thought about scientists making discoveries that could help everyone in the galaxy. Then, he thought about Sunja, the Council's intelligence officer who sat quietly in the corner. She was the only alien in the room who looked worried. Her large eyes kept moving between the humans and her own leaders. She seemed to understand something the others did not. "You want an answer?" Taemin asked. "Yes," Veltar said. "Sign the papers." Taemin stood up slowly. Ki-Woo stood with him. Around the table, the alien leaders watched with satisfaction. They thought they had won. "My answer is no," Taemin said. The room exploded in angry voices. Aliens shouted in languages Taemin did not understand. Some stood up and pointed at him, with claws and tentacles. When the noise died down, Veltar spoke in a voice full of hate. "Then you have chosen war." "No," Taemin said. "We have chosen to handle our own problems. The Terran Federation formally withdraws from these talks. We will take care of our own people from now on." "You cannot do that," Zephyr screamed. "You cannot just leave." "We can, and we are," Ki-Woo said. "Good day." The two humans walked toward the door. Behind them, the aliens continued to shout. Taemin heard Veltar say something that made his blood freeze. "If they want to act like animals, we will treat them like animals. When we find their colonies, we will clean them out like infestations." Taemin stopped walking. He turned around, slowly. The room went quiet again as they saw his face. "What did you say?" Taemin asked. Veltar smiled his sharp-toothed smile. "I said we will clean out your infestations. Your colonies are like diseases spreading across clean worlds. We will cure the galaxy of your presence." Something cold and hard settled in Taemin's chest. He looked at each alien around the table. They all wore the same expression of superior contempt. "I see," Taemin said. His voice was so quiet they had to strain to hear him. "You think we are animals? You think our homes are diseases? You think our children are infestations?" "Yes," Veltar said proudly. "Now you understand." Taemin nodded slowly. "Thank you for making things clear. Now we know exactly what you think of us." He turned to leave again, but stopped when Sunja spoke for the first time. "Ambassador Taemin," she said, "I think there has been a misunderstanding. Perhaps we could—" "No." "Misunderstanding," Taemin said without looking back. "Your leaders have made their feelings very clear. We heard every word." As the two humans left the room, Sunja felt a chill run down her spine. She had studied humans for many years. She knew they were not like other species. When other races got angry, they shouted and made threats. When humans got angry, they became very quiet and very careful. The way Taemin had gone quiet worried her more than any threat could have. Outside the meeting room, Ki-Woo spoke in a low voice. "Do you think they realize what they just did?" Taemin shook his head. "They have no idea. They think they just scared us into running away." "Should we tell them?" "No," Taemin said. "Let them figure it out for themselves." They walked to their ship in silence. Soon they would be heading home to Earth. Soon, the real work would begin. Fleet Admiral Hyun-Woo stood in front of the largest screen in Earth's Strategic Command Center. The screen showed a map of the galaxy with thousands of tiny lights. Each light was a human colony, a space station, or a ship. For the past 50 years, humans had been spreading across the stars, building new homes and making new discoveries. Now all of that might change. President Yoon-ji entered the room with her security team. She was a small woman, but everyone in the room stood up when she walked in. Her face looked tired. The trip back from the failed peace talks had taken 3 weeks, and the weight of decisions ahead had kept her awake most nights. "Show me the report," she said. Hyun-Woo pressed a button, and the screen changed. Now, it showed numbers and charts that told a story of growing danger. Alien fleets were moving toward human space. Trade routes were being blocked. Messages from human colonies spoke of alien ships watching them from a distance. "How long do we have?" Yoon-ji asked. "Maybe 2 months before they start attacking our outer colonies," Hyun-Woo said. "Maybe less." Jun-Ho stepped forward from the back of the room. He was a quiet man who rarely spoke at meetings like this. Most people in the room did not know what his job really was. His official title was Special Projects Coordinator. But that told them nothing. "Madam President," Junho said, "I think it is time to activate Protocol Sigma." The room went very quiet. Protocol Sigma was something most of the people in the room had never heard of. Those who had heard of it thought it was just a plan for evacuating colonies if things went wrong. They were partly right, but they had no idea how big the plan really was. Yunji looked at Junho for a long moment. "Are you sure we are ready?" "We have been ready for 10 years, Junho said. "Maybe longer." "Then do it." Junho pressed some buttons on his personal device. Around the galaxy, hidden communication systems came to life. Secret messages began moving between colonies that most people thought were completely separate. Military commanders who had been waiting for years finally got their orders. On the screen, the map of human space began to change. New lights appeared in places where no human colonies were supposed to exist. Fleet positions shifted as ships that had been hiding revealed themselves. Numbers that showed human military strength suddenly jumped much higher. "What is this?" asked General Dongmin, the head of Earth's regular military forces. "This is what we have really been doing for the past 30 years, Junho said. "While the aliens thought they were watching us, we were building something they never imagined." The screen showed that humans had not just been building colonies in the places the aliens knew about. They had been building secret bases in asteroid fields, hidden shipyards behind gas giant moons, and research stations in parts of space the aliens never visited. "The Phantom Fleet," Hyunwoo said in wonder. "It actually exists." 47 fleets, Junho said. "Each one hidden in a different part of space. Each one ready to move when we give the word." But the ships were only part of the plan. Around the galaxy, human colonies began what looked like a massive retreat. Families packed their belongings and boarded transport ships. Factories shut down their production lines. Research stations sent their data to Earth and prepared to abandon their buildings. To alien watchers, it looked like humans were running away in fear. They could not have been more wrong. Yujin commanded the human colonies in the Outer Rim, the part of space farthest from Earth. She watched from her command ship as thousands of transport vessels moved between planets. Her people were working day and night to move civilians to safety, but they were also doing something else. Every factory that shut down had its most important equipment secretly moved to hidden locations. Every research station sent its scientists to secret bases the aliens did not know existed. Every transport ship that looked like it was fleeing actually carried military supplies to weapons caches spread across the galaxy. "Status report," Yujin said to her second-in-command. 80% of civilians have been moved to secure locations," he replied. "Military assets are 95% relocated. The aliens still think we are just running away." "Good. Let them think that." On distant worlds, alien forces began moving into territories that humans appeared to have abandoned. They set up their own bases in the cities humans had built. They took over the factories and the spaceports. They planted their flags and made speeches about bringing order to chaos. What they did not know was that they were being watched. Boram had worked for the Council's intelligence service for 15 years. She was so good at her job that her alien bosses trusted her completely. They had no idea she was human. Her real appearance was hidden by advanced technology that made her look like one of them. She sat in a meeting room on the Council's main intelligence station and listened to her supervisors celebrate their victory over humanity. "The humans broke faster than we expected," said her boss, a creature that looked like a walking tree with too many eyes. "Their retreat shows they were not as strong as they pretended to be." "What about their military forces?" asked another. "Agent!" "Scattered and running," the tree creature replied. "Our sources report that human fleets are fleeing toward their home system. They are trying to protect Earth." Boram nodded and made notes, playing her role perfectly. Inside, she wanted to laugh. The alien intelligence services were good at many things, but they had one big weakness. They could not imagine that any species would be better at hiding things than they were. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. Back on Earth, Junho stood in front of another screen in a room deep underground. This room was so secret that most government officials did not know it existed. The walls were covered with maps and charts that showed the real extent of human expansion across the galaxy. "Phase 2 is beginning," he reported to the people in the room. All civilian populations have been moved to secure locations. Military assets are in position. The aliens are taking the bait. And our people in council space? Asked someone. From the shadows. Safe and ready. When the time comes, they will know what to do. One of the people in the room was Sang-hyuk, though his real job was so secret that even most of the people in this room did not know exactly what he did. He commanded units that did not officially exist, using technology that was supposed to be impossible. How long do we let this go on? Sang-hyuk asked. Until they make their real move, Junho replied. Until they show us who they really are. Across the galaxy, alien forces continued to occupy former human territories. They found cities that looked abandoned but were still in perfect condition. They found factories that could still work but had no workers. They found research labs full of equipment they did not understand. Some of the smarter alien commanders began to feel uneasy. The retreat had been too clean, too organized. When most species ran away in fear, they left chaos behind. But human territories looked like their people had just stepped out for a moment and would be back soon. Soonja was one of the few aliens who understood that something was wrong. She had tried to warn her superiors after the failed peace talks, but they did not want to listen. Now she found herself studying reports from occupied human worlds, and the more she read, the more worried she became. Humans did not retreat like this. In every war she had studied, in every conflict humans had ever fought, they were stubborn to the point of foolishness. They would fight for every piece of ground, every building, every room. This retreat was different. This retreat was planned. She tried one more time to warn her commanders, but they were too busy celebrating to listen to her fears. They thought they had won the greatest victory in galactic history without firing a shot. They had no idea that the real war had not even started yet. On a hidden base in the asteroid belt around Earth's solar system, Mi-young looked at reports coming in from across the galaxy. Her job was to coordinate the human agents who had stayed behind in alien-occupied territories. Most aliens thought all humans had fled, but thousands had actually gone underground. They worked in alien cities. As servants and laborers, they fixed alien machines and cleaned alien buildings. The aliens barely noticed them, which was exactly what humans wanted. These hidden humans watched everything. They learned alien passwords and copied alien plans. They found weaknesses in alien defenses and reported them back to Earth. When the time came, they would be ready to strike from within. All teams report ready, Mi-young said into her communicator. Understood, came the reply from Junho back on Earth. Hold position and wait for the signal. The signal would come soon enough. The aliens thought they had won, but they had actually walked into the biggest trap in galactic history, and they still had no idea what was coming. Commander Dalsu stared at the empty space where a supply convoy should have been. His ship's sensors showed nothing but rocks and distant stars. Yesterday, 47 alien vessels loaded with weapons and food had been traveling through this area. Today, they were gone. Any wreckage? He asked his sensor officer. Nothing, sir. No debris, no energy signatures, no signs of battle. Dalsu had been investigating these disappearances for 2 months now. It was always the same story. Alien ships would enter former human space, and then they would simply vanish. No distress calls, no explosions, no evidence of what happened to them. Sir, his communications officer called out. We are getting a message from the convoy's last known position. Put it on screen. The message was short and puzzling. It showed the convoy commander, a reptilian alien named Vextar, speaking in a calm voice. All ships proceeding normally. No problems detected. Continuing to destination. But there was something wrong with the message. Dalsu watched it 3 times before he realized what it was. The timestamp showed the message had been sent yesterday, but Vextar's eyes were completely black instead of their normal yellow color. Run a detailed analysis on that message, Dalsu ordered. While his crew worked, Dalsu thought about the other strange things that had been happening in former human territory. Communication arrays would work perfectly for days, then suddenly start sending random static. Computer systems would develop glitches that made no sense. Even simple machines like food processors would begin working backwards, turning meals into ingredients. The worst part was the reports from ground teams. Alien soldiers would be exploring abandoned human cities when their equipment would simply stop working. Weapons would jam at critical moments. Environmental suits would malfunction in dangerous areas. Transport vehicles would break down in places where calling for help was impossible. "Analysis complete, sir," the sensor officer reported. "The message has been altered. Someone replaced the original with a fake. Can you tell how it was done?" "No, sir. The technology used is beyond anything in our databases." Dalsu felt a chill run down his spine. The Galactic Council had the most advanced technology in known space. If someone had better technology than they did, it meant there were forces at work that they did not understand. 3-star systems away, Sang Hyuk floated in the command center of a ship that did not officially exist. The vessel was built using stealth technology that made it invisible to almost any sensor. Its hull was covered in materials that absorbed energy instead of reflecting it. Even if someone looked directly at it, they would see nothing but empty space. "Target confirmed," his pilot reported. "Alien supply depot, heavily defended." Sang Hyuk looked at the tactical display. The alien base was built on an asteroid that humans had once used for mining. The aliens had fortified it with shield generators and weapon platforms. They thought it was completely safe. They were wrong. "Begin operation," Sang Hyuk ordered. His ship moved closer to the asteroid, staying invisible. When they were close enough, they launched a device no bigger than a coffee cup. The device drifted toward the alien base like a piece of space debris. Inside the alien base, Commander Zolvek was reviewing inventory reports when his computer screen began showing strange symbols. He tried to restart the system, but the symbols only got brighter. Then the lights in his office started flickering. "Engineering," he called on his communicator. "We have a power problem." "No problems detected, sir," came the reply. "All systems showing normal." But Zolvek could see that things were not normal. His coffee cup was floating in the air. The gravity generator was malfunctioning, but the engineering team said everything was fine. Then the walls of his office became transparent. Zolvek found himself staring out into space, as if the metal and rock around him had turned into glass. He could see alien ships floating outside the base, but they were all empty. Their crews were standing in the corridor behind him, looking just as confused as he was. "This is impossible," he whispered. The impossible thing lasted for exactly 5 minutes. Then everything returned to normal. The walls became solid again. The gravity returned. The computer screen showed ordinary reports instead of strange symbols, but when Zolvek checked his inventory, he discovered that half of his supplies were missing. Back on Sang Hyuk's ship, the crew was storing the stolen supplies in their cargo hold. The device they had used was something completely new, a combination of advanced holographic technology and matter manipulation that could make solid objects temporarily insubstantial. "Target neutralized," Sang Hyuk reported. "No casualties, no evidence left behind." This was the new way of war that humans had developed. Instead of destroying their enemies, they confused them. Instead of killing alien soldiers, they made those soldiers doubt their own senses. It was psychological warfare taken to a level that most species could not understand. On the planet New Corian, Mi Young worked as a maintenance worker in an alien government building. She wore clothes that made her look like one of the local alien species, and she carried tools that seemed perfectly normal. What the aliens did not know was that every tool she carried was also a sophisticated piece of spy equipment. Her screwdriver could hack into computer systems. Her flashlight could record conversations from across a room. Her cleaning supplies could disable security systems without leaving any trace. She worked quietly, fixing broken pipes and replacing burned-out lights. The alien officials barely noticed her. To them, she was just another worker doing a boring job, but Mi Young was doing much more than fixing pipes. Every day, she planted tiny devices in the building's walls. The devices were so small they looked like specks of dust, but they could record everything that happened nearby. "Team 7 report," she whispered into her communicator while pretending to check a heating unit. "All targets marked," came the reply. "Ready for Phase 2. Mi Young smiled. Phase 2 would begin tonight when the alien officials were asleep. Her team would activate their hidden devices, and every secret in the building would be transmitted to human intelligence networks. The aliens would wake up tomorrow with all their plans known to their enemies, and they would never know how it happened. Commander Dalsu was getting frustrated. For 3 months, he had been investigating strange incidents in former human space. He had interviewed hundreds of witnesses, examined dozens of crime scenes, and analyzed countless pieces of evidence. Every investigation led to the same conclusion. Someone with incredibly advanced technology was playing games with the Galactic Council's forces. "Sir," his intelligence officer said, "I think you should see this." Dalsu looked at the report on his screen. It was a compilation of all the strange incidents that had happened in the past week. Ships disappearing and reappearing in different star systems. Entire military bases finding their weapons replaced with children's toys. Supply convoys arriving at their destinations with their cargo holds full of flowers instead of ammunition. "This cannot be random," Dalsu said. "Someone is doing this on purpose." "But who?" his officer asked. "We drove the humans out of this space. There is no one else here." Dalsu studied the map showing where the incidents had occurred. There was a pattern, but it was so subtle that he almost missed it. The attacks were not random. They were surgical. Strikes designed to cause maximum confusion with minimum violence. "Contact Admiral Veltar," Dalsu ordered. "I need to speak with him immediately." When Veltar's image appeared on the screen, Dalsu could see that the alien commander was not in a good mood. The past few months had not been kind to the Council's forces. "What do you want, Dalsu?" Veltar demanded. "Sir, I believe we have a serious problem. The incidents in former human space are not accidents or equipment failures. Someone is deliberately sabotaging our operations." Veltar's expression grew angry. "That is impossible. We have complete control of this region. There are no enemy forces here." "With respect, sir, I think there are. I think the humans never really left." "Nonsense." Veltar slammed his fist on his desk. "We watched them retreat. We saw their ships leave. Their colonies are empty." Dalsu had expected this reaction. The Council's leaders did not want to hear that their great victory might not be real. "Sir, what if the retreat was planned? What if they wanted us to think they were defeated?" "You are imagining things, Commander. The humans are a young species with limited technology. They could not possibly do the things you are describing." But even as Veltar spoke, an alarm began sounding on his ship. His crew reported that their main computer had started playing human music at full volume, and they could not make it stop. Dalsu could hear the music through the communication link. It was a cheerful song about friendship and cooperation. Somehow, that made it even more unsettling. "I will investigate this further," Dalsu said diplomatically. After the communication ended, Dalsu sat alone in his command chair and thought about what he had learned. The evidence was clear to him, even if his superiors could not see it. The humans had not retreated in defeat. They had withdrawn strategically, and now they were fighting a war unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was a war fought in shadows, with weapons that turned reality itself into a battlefield. It was a war where the enemy could be anywhere, and nowhere at the same time, and worst of all, it was a war. Admiral Kyung-Soo had been tracking the mysterious signals for 2 weeks. His fleet of 300 ships was the largest force the Galactic Council had ever assembled. Their mission was simple: find the source of the strange incidents that had been plaguing their forces and destroy it completely. The signals led them to Titan Station, a human outpost that supposedly had been abandoned months ago. From a distance, the station looked empty and dark. No ships were docked at its ports. No lights showed in its windows. It seemed like just another piece of human junk floating in space, but Kyung-Soo's sensors told a different story. Deep inside the station, something was still running. Power signatures indicated that someone was home. "All ships, prepare for assault," Kyung-Soo commanded. "We will board the station and capture whoever is hiding inside." His fleet moved into attack formation. Weapons charged, shields raised, troops ready to fight. They expected desperate resistance from the last humans in this sector. Instead, they received a polite invitation. "Admiral Kyung-Soo," a calm voice said over the communication channel. "This is Director Dong Wook of Human Strategic Operations. Would you and your senior officers like to come aboard for a discussion? I think you will find it educational." Kyung-Soo was so surprised that he almost did not know how to respond. In all his years of military service, no enemy had ever invited him to visit their base. "This is a trick," his second-in-command warned. "Maybe," Kyung-Soo said, "but I am curious to see what these humans think they can accomplish. An hour later, Kyung-soo and his senior staff were walking through the corridors of Titan Station. The station was much larger than it had appeared from outside. The hallways were clean and well lit. The air smelled fresh. Everything looked new and perfectly maintained. It did not look like a base that had been abandoned. Dong-wook met them in the main conference room. He was a middle-aged human with gray hair and kind eyes. He wore simple clothes and carried no weapons. He looked more like a teacher than a military commander. "Welcome to Titan Station," Dong-wook said with a smile. "I hope your journey was pleasant." "Cut the games," Kyung-soo demanded. "We know you have been responsible for the attacks on our forces. Surrender now and we may show mercy." "Attacks?" Dong-wook looked genuinely confused. "We have not attacked anyone. We have been far too busy with other projects." "Then explain the missing supply convoys. Explain the equipment failures. Explain the ships that disappear without a trace." Dong-wook nodded thoughtfully. "Ah, you mean the demonstrations? Yes, we have been testing some new technologies. I apologize if they caused any inconvenience." The alien officers looked at each other. Demonstrations? This human was talking about acts of war as if they were science experiments. "Perhaps I should show you what we have been working on," Dong-wook said. "Na-eun, would you please activate the display?" A woman appeared from the back of the room. She was young and carried herself with the confidence of someone who understood things that others did not. When she pressed a button on her device, the walls of the conference room disappeared. Suddenly, the alien officers found themselves floating in space, surrounded by stars. But these were not the stars they expected to see. This was a three-dimensional map of the entire galaxy, and it was full of surprises. "What you see here," Na-eun explained, "is the real extent of human presence in the galaxy. The map showed thousands of lights that had not been there before. Each light represented a human base, a fleet, or a research station. There were so many lights that they covered half the galaxy." "Impossible," whispered one of the alien officers. "We monitored your expansion. We know where all your colonies are." "You know where we wanted you to think our colonies are," Dong-wook corrected gently. "What you are seeing now are our actual installations." Kyung-soo stared at the map in shock. According to this display, humans had been building bases in parts of space the Council did not even know existed. There were human installations in other galaxies, in dimensions that most species had not discovered, in places that physics said should be impossible to reach. "This is fake," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Is it?" Na-eun pressed another button, and the display changed. Now it showed live feeds from human bases across the galaxy. Alien officers could see massive shipyards building vessels, unlike anything they had ever imagined. They saw research stations working on technologies that made their own science look primitive. One of the feeds showed a human explorer named Chang Min, standing on the surface of a planet in a distant galaxy. He was planting a flag and making notes about the local ecosystem. In the background, his crew was setting up what looked like a permanent research station. "That galaxy is 3 million light-years from here," one of the alien officers said faintly. "It takes our fastest ships 50,000 years to reach it." "Our ships are faster," Na-eun said simply. Another feed showed human ships that seemed to be made of liquid metal. They could change shape at will, becoming fighters one moment and explorers the next. Their weapons fired beams of energy that could tear holes in space itself. "How?" Kyung-soo asked. "How did you develop this technology?" "We learned," Dong-wook said. "While you were building empires and fighting wars, we were studying. While you were focused on controlling what exists, we were discovering what could exist." The display changed again, showing a timeline of human development. The alien officers could see that humans had been working on these projects for over a century. Every peace negotiation, every diplomatic meeting, every trade agreement had been a cover for massive technological advancement. The peace talks, Kyung-soo realized. "You never intended to accept our terms." "We hoped you would be reasonable," Dong-wook said. "We would have preferred to work together. But when you made it clear that you saw us as animals to be controlled, we decided to handle things ourselves." One of the alien officers, a creature that looked like a walking crystal, spoke up. "Why are you showing us this? Why reveal your secrets?" "Because the situation has changed," Dong-wook replied. Your leaders called our colonies infestations that needed to be cleaned out. They made it clear that they intend to commit genocide against our species. The room went very quiet. The alien officers remembered Veltar's words at the peace talks. They also remembered the celebrations that had followed, the speeches about purging the galaxy of human influence. We cannot allow that to happen, Dong-wook continued. So we are making you an offer. What kind of offer? Kyung-soo asked. Na-yoon pressed another button, and the display showed a new image. This one made the alien officers gasp in shock. It was a map of their own territory, but it showed things they had never seen before. Hidden human agents in every major city, human ships watching every alien fleet, human devices planted in every government building. We know everything, Dong-wook said quietly. We know your military capabilities, your political weaknesses, your economic dependencies. We know which of your allies are loyal and which are looking for excuses to switch sides. The display showed detailed files on every alien leader, every military commander, every important decision-maker in the galaxy. The humans had been watching and learning for decades. This is our offer, Dong-wook said. You can continue trying to fight us and we will defend ourselves. Or you can accept that the balance of power has changed and we can discuss new arrangements. New arrangements? Kyung-soo asked. A partnership instead of a conquest, cooperation instead of domination, a galaxy where all species can grow and learn together. One of the alien officers laughed bitterly. You think we will just give up our authority? You think we will let you take over? We do not want to take over, Dong-wook said. We want to explore. We want to discover new things and share what we learn. But we will not be treated as inferior beings who need supervision. The display showed one final image that made all the alien officers step backward. It was a human fleet unlike anything they had imagined possible. Thousands of ships that seemed to be made of pure energy. Weapons that could unmake matter at the molecular level. Defenses that could hide entire star systems from view. This is what we can do when we stop holding back, Na-yoon said. This is what we have been building while you thought we were hiding in fear. You have 72 hours to discuss our offer with your leaders, Dong-wook said. After that, we will assume that you have chosen to continue the current situation. And if we choose to continue fighting? Kyung-soo asked. Dong-wook's kind expression never changed, but something cold appeared in his eyes. Then you will discover that humans can be just as ruthless as we are innovative. We prefer peace, Admiral, but we are very good at war. The alien officers were escorted back to their ships in silence. As they left Titan Station, they could see human vessels appearing all around them. Ships that had been invisible moments before suddenly became visible, revealing the true size of the force that had been watching them. Kyung-soo's fleet of 300 ships was surrounded by over 2,000 human vessels. Each one was more advanced than anything in the alien fleet. The humans could have destroyed them at any moment, but had chosen to let them leave. Admiral, his communications officer called out, we are receiving a message. Put it on screen. Dong-wook's face appeared one last time. Safe travels, Admiral. I hope your leaders make the EI. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been going on for 18 hours. In the Great Chamber on Nexus Station, representatives from across the galaxy argued with increasing desperation. The report from Admiral Kyung-soo had shaken them all, but they could not agree on what to do about it. Veltar slammed his scaled fist on the table. This is obviously fake. Humans do not have the technology to do these things. Then explain how they made our entire fleet see the same illusion, Kyung-soo replied calmly. Explain how they knew details about our operations that only our highest commanders should know. Zephyri's 4 arms moved nervously as she spoke. Even if this is real, we cannot just give up our authority. The Council has ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years. And look where that has gotten us, said a new voice from the back of the chamber. Everyone turned to see a human walking down the central aisle. He was tall and moved with quiet confidence. His clothes were simple but well-made. He carried no weapons and showed no fear, even though he was surrounded by beings who had declared war on his species. Who are you? Veltar demanded. How did you get in here? My name is Wu Jin, the human said. I am here to discuss the current situation. Security guards moved toward him, but stopped when their weapons would not work. They pulled triggers, but nothing happened. They tried to call for backup, but their communicators were silent. "I am sorry for the inconvenience," Wu Jin said politely. "But we need to talk without interruptions." He reached the center of the chamber and looked around at the alien representatives. Many of them were species that humans had never been allowed to meet before. The council had kept them separated, controlling who could speak to whom. "You have been having some difficulties lately," Wu Jin observed. "Supply problems, equipment failures, mysterious incidents. I am here to explain what has been happening." "We know what has been happening," Veltar snarled. "You have been attacking us." "No," Wu Jin said. "We have been defending ourselves. There is a difference." He activated a small device, and the air above the council table filled with holographic images. The aliens saw detailed records of every military operation they had conducted in the past 6 months. Every convoy, every patrol, every attempt to establish control over former human territory. "These are your operations," Wu Jin said. "Now let me show you what really happened to them." The images changed, showing the same events from a different perspective. Alien convoys that had disappeared were actually sitting safely in human holding facilities. Their crews were unharmed but confused about how they had gotten there. Equipment that had failed had actually been temporarily disabled by human technology, then returned to normal function. No permanent damage had been done, but the psychological effect had been devastating. "You have not lost a single ship," Wu Jin explained. "You have not lost a single soldier. We could have destroyed all of your forces, but we chose not to." "Why?" asked Sunja, the intelligence analyst who had been worried about human intentions from the beginning. "Because we are not like you," Wu Jin replied. "We do not solve problems by destroying our enemies. We solve them by making our enemies understand that fighting us is pointless." Another human entered the chamber. This one was a woman who introduced herself as Ji-hoon from the Human Colonial Authority. She carried a data pad that she placed on the council table. "This contains a complete record of human expansion over the past century," she said. "You have been operating under several false assumptions." The data pad projected new images into the air. The aliens saw star maps that revealed the true scope of human civilization. While the council thought they had been monitoring human growth, humans had actually been establishing relationships with hundreds of species the council had never encountered. "You control about 12% of this galaxy," Ji-hoon said. "We have contact with species in 6 other galaxies. Your galactic council represents a small fraction of galactic civilization." Zephyr stared at the images in disbelief. "This cannot be true. We would have detected these other species." "You have been looking in the wrong places," Ji-hoon replied, "and many of them have been deliberately avoiding contact with you." "Why would they avoid us?" demanded another alien representative. "Because your reputation precedes you," Wu Jin said bluntly. "The species you encounter have 2 choices: submit to your authority or be conquered by your military. Most civilizations find neither option appealing." The images showed human diplomatic missions meeting with alien species that had fled from council expansion, refugees who had lost their homeworlds to council development projects, entire civilizations that had hidden themselves rather than risk council attention. "We offer a third option," Ji-hoon said. "Mutual cooperation without domination, trade without exploitation, peace without submission." Veltar's anger was turning to desperation. "What do you want from us?" "We want you to stop," Wu Jin said simply. "Stop treating other species as inferior. Stop taking what does not belong to you. Stop assuming that your way is the only way." "And if we refuse?" Wu Jin looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each representative. "Then you will discover that the galaxy is much more dangerous than you realized." The holographic display changed again, showing council military forces throughout the galaxy. But now the aliens could see what they had missed before. Human ships watching every council fleet. Human agents in every council facility. Human technology monitoring every council communication. "We know where all of your ships are," Ji-hoon said. "We know what all of your commanders are planning. We know which of your allies are loyal and which are looking for excuses to leave." The display showed classified council documents that should have been impossible for outsiders to access. Military plans, economic reports, diplomatic secrets. The humans had been inside council operations for years. "How?" whispered Sunja. "We are very good at making friends," Wu Jin replied. "Even among your own people, there are those who are tired of the council's methods." This was true, though the aliens did not want to admit it. Many council species had joined originally for protection, but had grown tired of taking orders from the more powerful races. They saw human offers of partnership as a chance for real independence. "These are our terms," Ji-hoon said, activating her datapad again. "Immediate withdrawal from all former human territories, reparations for damages caused during your occupation, formal recognition of human authority in our claimed regions." "Impossible!" Veltar shouted. "We will not be dictated to by primitives." "We also require," Wu Jin continued, ignoring the interruption, "the establishment of a new galactic organization, one where all species have equal voices, regardless of their military power or economic influence." The alien representatives began arguing among themselves. Some wanted to fight, others wanted to negotiate, still others wanted to find a way to escape the situation entirely. Ari, the council's senior diplomat, tried to find middle ground. "Perhaps we could discuss these terms in smaller groups. There might be room for compromise." "There is no compromise," Wu Jin said firmly. "You called our colonies infestations. You spoke of cleaning us from the galaxy. You made your intentions very clear." "That was Veltar's opinion, not official council policy," Ari protested. "Veltar spoke for the council," Ji-hoon replied. "And the council voted to approve military action against human civilians. You chose genocide, so we chose to defend ourselves." The truth of this statement hung in the air like a physical weight. The council had indeed voted for what they called population management in human territories. The euphemism had made it easier to approve, but the meaning had been clear. "What guarantee do we have that you will honor your own terms?" asked another alien representative. "The same guarantee you gave us," Wu Jin said. "None. The difference is that we actually mean what we say." A soft chime sounded throughout the chamber. Seok Jin, a human military commander, materialized in the room as if he had been invisible until that moment. 68 hours remaining," he announced. "During this time, all council military movements will be closely monitored. Any aggressive action will be considered a rejection of our offer." "You cannot threaten us in our own council chamber," Veltar raged. "We are not threatening you," Seok Jin said. "We are informing you. There is a difference." The humans began to leave, but Wu Jin stopped at the door. "You have spent so much time controlling others that you have forgotten how to cooperate with equals. This is your chance to learn." After they were gone, the council chamber erupted in chaos. Some representatives demanded immediate military action. Others called for negotiation. A few quietly began making plans to contact human diplomats directly. Sunja sat in her chair and watched the argument swirl around her. She had studied humans for years, and she understood something that her colleagues did not. When humans made promises, they kept them. When they made threats, they meant them. The council could choose to fight, but they would lose. They could choose to negotiate, but they would be negotiating from a position of weakness. Or they could choose to accept that the galaxy had changed, and they would have to change with it. The clock was ticking, and time was running out. The vote was closer than anyone had expected. After 3 days of arguments, threats, and desperate negotiations, the Galactic Council voted to accept human terms by a margin of just 2 votes. Veltar and his closest allies voted against it, until the very end, but even they could see that resistance was pointless. Haywan stood in the same council chamber where humans had been dismissed as inferior animals just 6 months earlier. Now she was Earth's ambassador to the galactic community, and the aliens who had once looked down on her species were hanging on her every word. "The transition period will last 1 standard year," she announced to the assembled representatives. "During this time, all council forces will withdraw from former human territories. Reparations will be calculated and paid according to the schedule we have provided." She paused and looked around the chamber. Many of the alien faces showed resignation, but others showed something that surprised her: relief. Not all species had been happy under council rule. More importantly, Haywan continued, We will begin establishing the new Galactic Federation. Every species will have an equal voice in this organization, regardless of their size or military power. This was the part that scared the former council leaders the most. For centuries, they had maintained control by keeping smaller species divided and dependent. Now those same species would have the same authority as their former masters. In the weeks that followed, the transformation was remarkable. Species that had been forced into submission for generations began to speak up for themselves. Trade agreements that had favored council worlds were renegotiated on fair terms. Military alliances based on fear were replaced by partnerships based on mutual benefit. Minsu worked 18-hour days coordinating the integration process. His office in the new Federation headquarters was constantly busy with alien diplomats seeking to establish direct relationships with Earth. Many of them had stories to tell about life under council rule. We tried to resist when they first came to our world, explained Ambassador Kethra of the Valian people. But they had so many ships, so many weapons. We had to choose between slavery and extinction. And now, Minsu asked, now we have hope again. Your people offer us protection without demanding submission. You share technology without taking our resources. It is different. This conversation was repeated hundreds of times across the galaxy. Species that had been suppressed for generations were suddenly free to pursue their own interests. Scientists who had been forced to work on council projects could now research whatever they found interesting. Artists who had been required to glorify council leaders could create whatever moved them. But the most dramatic changes were happening among the former council leaders themselves. Veltar had been stripped of his military command and faced trial for war crimes. The evidence of his species' brutality toward conquered peoples was overwhelming. But rather than executing him, the Federation sentenced him to community service on worlds his forces had damaged. "This is humiliation," he snarled when the sentence was announced. "No," replied Judge In-suk, a human legal expert. "This is education. You will spend the next 10 years helping to rebuild what you destroyed. Maybe then you will understand the value of what you tried to eliminate." Zephyr had adapted more quickly to the new reality. Her trade consortium had always been motivated by profit rather than ideology, and she quickly discovered that fair trade was actually more profitable than exploitation. "Human economic models are fascinating," she told her business partners. "When you allow your trading partners to prosper, they can afford to buy more of your products. When you suppress them, they can only afford basic necessities." Soon, Jia found herself in an unexpected position. Her years of studying human behavior had made her one of the few aliens who truly understood how the new system would work. She became a key advisor to species trying to adapt to Federation membership. "The humans are not like us," she explained to a group of former council diplomats. "They do not think in terms of dominance and submission. They think in terms of cooperation and mutual benefit." "How do we work with beings who think so differently?" asked one of the diplomats. "We learn," Sunja replied. "We adapt. We grow." The real test of the new system came when the first major crisis arose. A plague had broken out on 3 worlds in the Outer Rim, threatening millions of lives. Under the old council system, resources would have been diverted based on political importance. The most powerful species would have received help first, while weaker species would have been left to suffer. The Federation's response was different. Medical teams were dispatched to all affected worlds simultaneously. Research groups from dozens of species worked together to develop treatments. Resources were allocated based on need rather than political influence. Jae Sung documented the crisis response for his historical records. "The plague was contained within 6 weeks," he wrote. "Under the old system, it would have taken months and killed millions more people. The difference was not in technology or resources, but in organization and priorities." As the first year of Federation rule came to an end, it was clear that the galaxy had fundamentally changed. Trade was flourishing as barriers between species were removed. Scientific research was advancing rapidly as knowledge was shared freely. Even art and culture were experiencing a renaissance as diverse species learned from each other. But perhaps the most significant change was in humanity itself. Captain So-yun stood on the bridge of her exploration vessel, the New Horizon, as it approached an uncharted star system. Her crew included members from 12 different species, each bringing their own skills and perspectives to the mission. Sensors detect artificial structures around the fourth planet, reported her science officer, a crystalline being named Zextak. Any signs of life? So-Yan asked. Primitive space travel capability, replied Colvin, her communications specialist. They appear to be in the early stages of interstellar expansion. So-Yan nodded. This was always a delicate moment. First, contact with a new species could go wrong in so many ways. The old council had usually approached such situations with a show of overwhelming force, demanding immediate submission. The Federation had a different approach. Prepare a peaceful contact. Package, So-Yan ordered. Basic universal mathematics, scientific principles, cultural exchange materials. No weapons, no threats, no demands. Her crew worked quickly to assemble the materials. The contact package would be transmitted on a frequency that any spacefaring civilization would monitor. It would clearly identify them as visitors rather than invaders. Message ready, Colvin reported. Send it, So-Yan said, and then we wait. The response came 3 days later. The aliens of this system were cautious but curious. They agreed to meet with a small diplomatic party on a neutral asteroid between their world and the visiting fleet. The meeting was everything the old council first contacts were not. Instead of demands for submission, there were questions about culture and science. Instead of threats of conquest, there were offers of friendship and trade. Instead of fear, there was hope. What do you want from us? Asked the alien leader, a being that looked like a mobile plant with multiple flower-like heads. Nothing, So-Yan replied honestly. We want to learn about you, and we hope you might want to learn about us. If you decide you want to join our Federation, you would be welcome. If you prefer to remain independent, that is your choice. The alien considered this for a long moment. And if we have nothing you want? If our world has no resources you need? Then we will still be friends, So-Yan said. Friendship is not about what you can get from someone, it is about what you can share with them. This philosophy was spreading throughout the galaxy. Species that had spent centuries fighting over resources were discovering that cooperation produced better results than competition. Technologies that had been hoarded as military secrets were being shared for the benefit of all. The old Galactic Council still existed, but as a junior partner in the Federation rather than its ruler. Former Council species had to earn their new positions through cooperation rather than demanding them through force. Veltar, working in a refugee camp on a world his own forces had devastated, slowly began to understand what he had lost. The beings he had once considered inferior were teaching him about medicine, engineering, and agriculture. They were helping him become a better person, even though he had tried to destroy them. Why do you help me? He asked one of the human workers. I would have killed you all if I could. Because that is what good people do, the human replied. They help others become better, even when those others do not deserve it. As the second year of Federation rule began, Jae-sung completed his historical account of the transformation. He titled it, The Day the Galaxy Grew Up, and it became required reading in schools across hundreds of worlds. The old council believed that strength came from controlling others, he wrote in his conclusion. They thought that the only way to be safe was to make everyone else weak. But humans showed them a different way. Real strength comes from helping others become strong. Real safety comes from building a community where everyone can thrive. The galaxy had learned that humans were not a species to be underestimated or controlled. They were a force that reshaped everything, not